Commander Taiwan stood on the observation deck of the Vrixian survey ship, his tall blue-scaled form towering over the other officers. His yellow eyes narrowed as he watched the holographic display of Earth rotating slowly before him. The third planet from an unremarkable star had finally been properly catalogued by the Galactic Confederation. "Magnify Sector 4, he ordered. The hologram zoomed in on a sprawling human city. Primitive vehicles crawled along grey pathways. Smoke billowed. From industrial zones, humans scurried about like insects. "Disgusting," muttered Officer Sun He, her silver exoskeleton clicking as she adjusted the sensors. "They still burn fossil fuels. Their atmosphere is poisoned by their own doing." Taiwan flicked a clawed hand dismissively. "The Confederation was right to classify them as a Class 3 species. Look at their dwellings. Inefficient. Their transportation, primitive, their weapons, laughable." The ship had been observing Earth for 3 standard cycles, gathering data on the dominant species. The Confederation, an alliance of over 200 advanced civilizations, had strict protocols for contact with newly discovered worlds. Earth hardly seemed worth the effort. "Play the physical assessment," Taiwan commanded. The hologram shifted to show humans in various activities. A scientific analysis appeared alongside the images. "No natural armor," Sun He read aloud. "No claws or fangs. Limited sensory capabilities. Poor night vision. Weak muscular structure compared to Confederation standards." She looked up at her commander. "Their only notable feature is their endurance. They can sustain moderate physical activity for extended periods." Taiwan made a sound like stones grinding together, a Vrixian laugh. "Endurance means nothing without strength or intelligence to direct it. These hairless apes are barely out of their trees." The commander compiled the observation data and prepared to transmit it to the Confederation Council. Earth would make an excellent resource world. Its abundant water, minerals, and biological diversity would benefit the Confederation greatly. The humans would hardly notice the careful extraction operations planned for remote regions. "Send the report," he ordered. "Recommend minimal contact protocol. They aren't worth diplomatic effort." Across the world, in a small research facility outside Seoul, Dr. Park Ji-un frowned at her computer screen. The quantum interference patterns she had been tracking for months had changed again. Something was creating disturbances in Earth's upper atmosphere, disturbances that couldn't be explained by natural phenomena. "Another energy spike," she murmured, pushing her dark hair away from her face. "Same pattern as yesterday, but stronger." Her colleague, Jun-ho, looked over her shoulder. "Could be solar flares affecting your equipment." Ji-un shook her head. "These patterns are too regular, too precise." She pointed to the screen. "Look, at the energy signature. It's like nothing we've ever recorded." In another part of the world, Captain Han Do-hyun led his team through dense jungle. The former Special Forces officer had been tasked with investigating strange reports from remote villages. Perfectly circular areas of forest had been found flattened overnight. Local wildlife had disappeared. Most concerning were the unusual mineral deposits left behind, materials that didn't match any known element. "Hold." Do-hyun signaled his team to stop. They crouched in the undergrowth, watching as a strange light appeared in the clearing ahead. The air shimmered like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then, impossibly, a section of the jungle simply disappeared, revealing a metallic structure that hadn't been there moments before. Do-hyun's heart raced as he recorded everything on his tactical camera. This was no natural phenomenon. This was not human technology. Back in the Confederation Council chambers, representatives from various species watched Taiwan's report with amusement. The images of humans struggling with their primitive technology elicited sounds of derision. "These creatures use explosives to propel metal projectiles as weapons," Taiwan explained. "Their most advanced aircraft cannot leave their atmosphere reliably. Their medical technology is still at a chemical intervention stage." High Counselor Kyung-ho, a massive being with 6 symmetrical limbs, raised one to quiet the amused chatter. "The vote is clear. Earth is classified as a Class 3 primitive world. Limited resource extraction is approved. No diplomatic contact is required." The Council moved on to more important matters, Earth already forgotten. No one noticed the small warning flag in Taiwan's report, a footnote mentioning the unusual adaptability of human technology and their rapid technological advancement compared to other primitive species. As the Vrixian ship prepared its first mining operation in Earth's remote regions, Dr. Park Ji-eun's computer suddenly captured a massive energy signature. For just 1 second, her satellite feed showed a massive object in orbit before her screen went dark. "We're not alone," she whispered, her hands trembling. "And they're already here. Remember to cite your sources when using the web search tool, using tags around claims that draw from search results." 3 months had passed since Dr. Park Ji-eun first detected the strange energy signatures in Earth's atmosphere. Now she stood in the pouring rain, staring at a perfectly circular depression in the muddy ground. The crater was 50 meters wide, with smooth sides as if someone had used a giant ice cream scoop to remove a chunk of the Earth. "This is the 4th site this week," said Captain Han Do-hyun, his voice barely audible over the drumming rain. Water dripped from his short black hair as he knelt to examine the soil at the edge of the depression. "Same pattern as the others," Ji-eun nodded, her scientific mind racing to find a rational explanation. "The soil shows traces of extreme heat, but nothing was burned. It's as if the Earth was simply extracted." Do-hyun stood up, his expression grim. "Whatever did this isn't from Earth." Around the world, similar phenomena were being reported. A fishing village in Norway woke to find their entire harbor had vanished overnight, water, boats and all. A section of the Amazon rainforest disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a perfectly hemispherical void. 3 ships passing through. A remote part of the Pacific Ocean simply ceased all communications. Most governments dismissed these events as natural disasters or hoaxes. But Ji-eun knew better. She had assembled a small team of trusted colleagues who believed her theories. "The material we recovered from the Sahara site is like nothing on Earth," explained Min-ho, a materials scientist, as they gathered in Ji-eun's makeshift lab. He held up a small metal component that gleamed with an unnatural blue light. "This alloy doesn't match any known element combination." Ji-eun carefully connected the alien device to her computer. For weeks, she had been trying to understand how it worked. "I think it's part of a larger system, possibly a scanning device." Outside, the rain stopped suddenly. The air felt charged with electricity. The lights in the lab flickered. "They're back," whispered Do-hyun. He grabbed his camera and headed for the door. "Everyone, positions." The team had prepared for this moment. They moved quickly to their assigned observation posts, hidden in the trees surrounding the clearing, where they had found the first depression. The air shimmered like a heat mirage. Then, impossibly, a section of empty space seemed to tear open. Through this rift, Ji-eun saw a metallic structure, sleek and otherworldly. A ramp extended from the ship to the ground. 2 figures emerged. They were tall, at least 7 feet in height. One had blue scales covering its body, while the other gleamed with a silver exoskeleton. They moved with fluid grace, scanning the area with handheld devices. "Begin extraction," said the blue-scaled being in perfect, accentless Korean. The team exchanged shocked glances. The aliens had learned their language. The silver being activated a device that projected a beam of intense light into the ground. The Earth began to rise in a perfect cylinder, soil and rocks suspended in mid-air before being drawn into the ship. "Mineral content matches requirements," reported the silver being. "This site will yield sufficient quantities." Ji-eun watched in horror and fascination. These beings were stealing Earth's resources. But why these specific locations? What were they taking? A twig snapped. One of Ji-eun's team members had moved too close. The blue alien's head snapped up, yellow eyes narrowing. "Life forms detected," it said, raising a small object that resembled a weapon. "Run!" shouted Do-hyun. The team scattered as a burst of energy hit the tree where they had been hiding. The trunk disintegrated instantly. Do-hyun grabbed Ji-eun's arm, pulling her through the forest. Behind them they heard the aliens in pursuit. "Split up," he ordered the team. "Meet at the backup location." Ji-eun ran until her lungs burned. When she finally stopped, hidden in a dense thicket, she realized she still clutched her tablet. It had recorded everything. Hours later, The team regrouped in an abandoned warehouse miles from the extraction site. 2 members were missing. Jin Wu. Gan Xiaojin never made it to the checkpoint, reported Minho, his face pale with fear. Du Hyun's expression hardened. We need to assume they were captured or killed. Ji-un connected her tablet to a larger screen, showing the team what she had. I recorded. The aliens' ship, their technology, their conversation, all documented. They're systematically mining our planet, she explained. These aren't random events. They're following a pattern, extracting specific minerals or resources. But why the secrecy? Asked Minho. With their technology, they could simply take what they want. Maybe they don't want to start a panic, suggested Do Hyun. Or maybe they see us as too primitive to bother with formal contact. Ji-un studied the images of the alien technology. We need to understand what they're after and why, and we need to find a way to stop them before they take something we can't live without. In orbit above Earth, Commander Tae-won reviewed the day's extraction reports. 2 humans terminated at Site 17, reported Officer Sun Hee. They were observing the operation. Tae-won dismissed the concern with a wave. Inconsequential. This planet has billions of the creatures. A few less won't matter. Sir, Sun Hee hesitated. They had recording devices. They were studying us. Tae-won's yellow eyes narrowed. Impossible. Class 3 species don't have the intelligence to comprehend our technology. He paused. Increase security at the next extraction site. If these humans are more curious than we anticipated, they may require a more forceful demonstration of their insignificance. Dr. Park Ji-un stood before a wall covered with maps, photographs, and strings connecting various points. 6 months had passed since their first encounter with the aliens. In that time, her small team had grown into an underground resistance network spanning 5 continents. They've established 3 main extraction bases, she explained to the assembled group. Antarctica, the Sahara, and this island in the Pacific. She pointed to red markers on the map. Each base follows the same pattern. They appear suddenly, extract resources for exactly 14 days, then vanish. Captain Han Do-hyun entered the room, his face tired but determined. Once a by-the-book military man, he now led a guerrilla force against an enemy most of humanity didn't even know existed. The government still refused to acknowledge what's happening, he said. They blame natural disasters, weather anomalies, anything but the truth. Ji-un nodded grimly. Their warnings had fallen on deaf ears. World leaders dismissed their evidence as elaborate hoaxes or conspiracy theories. Meanwhile, the aliens, who called themselves the Vrixians, continued to strip Earth of its resources unchallenged. Show them what we found, she said to Minho. Minho activated a holographic display, technology they had reverse-engineered from salvaged alien equipment. This is what they're taking. The display showed a complex molecular structure. It's a rare Earth element, but with properties we've never seen before. They're extracting it from deep within our planet. But why? Asked a woman from the Brazilian resistance cell. What do they use it for? Energy, Ji-un replied. Their entire technology runs on it. Their ships, their weapons, everything. Do-hyun stepped forward. We've studied their patterns and their technology for months, and we've identified 3 key advantages humans have that they don't expect. He held up one finger. First, endurance. The Vrixians can only operate in our atmosphere for about 4 hours before requiring rest. Their bodies aren't built for sustained activity. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. We can keep going for days if necessary. A second finger joined the first. Second, adaptability. The Vrixians rely completely on their technology. When their tools fail, they're lost. Humans improvise, adapt, overcome. His third finger rose. Finally, determination. The Vrixians see us as animals, pests at best. They don't believe we can organize or fight back effectively. They don't understand what humans are capable of when protecting their home. The room fell silent as his words sank in. These were not just resistance fighters. They were Earth's last line of defense against an enemy that saw humans as insignificant. Tonight, Ji-un announced, we strike back for the first time. Under the cover of darkness, 3 small teams approached the Vrixian outpost in the Sahara Desert. The alien structure gleamed under the moonlight, its smooth metallic surface reflecting the stars. Remember the plan, Do-hyun whispered into his radio. Team 1 creates the distraction. Team 2 disables their communications. Team 3 retrieves the technology samples. Ji-eun, part of Team 3, felt her heart pounding. The stolen Vrixian suit she wore was uncomfortable, designed for a body shape different from human anatomy, but it would mask her life signs from the alien's sensors for a short time. Begin, Do-hyun ordered. Team 1 detonated explosives half a kilometer from the base. As expected, several Vrixian guards rushed toward the disturbance. Their movements were quick but stiff, built for short bursts of speed, not sustained activity. Team 2 activated the signal jammers Ji-eun had designed. The lights on the Vrixian base flickered momentarily. Communications disabled, came the report. You have 15 minutes before their systems reset. Ji-eun and Team 3 moved in, using the access codes they had painstakingly deciphered from stolen Vrixian data. They entered the facility through a service entrance. Inside, the alien technology hummed with power. Strange lights pulsed along corridors that seemed designed for beings larger than humans. Ji-eun led her team directly to the central laboratory. There, she whispered, pointing to a storage unit. That contains their weapons and shield technology. As they gathered the alien devices, an alarm suddenly blared. A door slid open, and a tall, blue-scaled Vrixian appeared. Its yellow eyes widened, in shock at the sight of humans inside their supposedly secure facility. Primitive vermin, it snarled, reaching for a weapon. Do-hyun fired first. The modified human weapon, enhanced with Vrixian technology, penetrated the alien's personal shield. The Vrixian collapsed, blue fluid leaking from its wound. We've been compromised, Do-hyun said calmly. All teams, execute emergency extraction. The human resistance fighters fled into the desert, pursued by Vrixian guards. But as Ji-eun had predicted, the aliens couldn't maintain the chase. After 4 hours of relentless pursuit through the harsh desert, the Vrixians were forced to turn back, their biological limitations preventing them from continuing. In orbit above Earth, Commander Tae-won received the report of the raid with disbelief. Impossible, he growled. How could primitive apes breach our security? How could they understand our technology? Officer Sun-hee's silver exoskeleton gleamed as she spoke. The humans appear to be more resourceful than our initial assessment. Indicated. Tae-won stared at the security footage showing humans operating Vrixian equipment with surprising skill. These aren't mindless animals, he realized. They're studying us, learning, adapting. For the first time since arriving at Earth, Tae-won felt something he had never expected to feel toward humans: concern. Increase security at all extraction sites, he ordered, and prepare a full report for the Confederation Council. These hairless apes may require more attention than we anticipated. The red, Australian sun beat down mercilessly on the dry landscape. Heat waves shimmered above the cracked earth as temperatures soared past 40 degrees Celsius. Most living creatures had sought shelter from the brutal conditions, but not the humans. Captain Han Do-hyun wiped sweat from his brow as he peered through binoculars at the Vrixian extraction base 2 kilometers away. After 6 successful raids on smaller outposts, the human resistance had grown bolder. Today they would strike the aliens' main Southern Hemisphere command center. Status report, he whispered into his radio. Team 1 in position, came the first. Response. Team 2 ready? Followed another voice. Team 3 standing by, reported Dr. Park Ji-eun. In the month since their first encounter with the aliens, she had transformed from a scientist into a warrior. Her knowledge of Vrixian technology had become the Resistance's greatest weapon. Do-hyun checked his watch. Begin Operation Endurance in 3, 2, 1. Execute. Across the vast desert, 20 human fighters emerged from hiding places where they had remained motionless for hours. Unlike the Vrixians, humans could regulate their body temperature through sweating. They could endure extreme conditions that the aliens, despite their advanced technology, could not. Team 1 triggered their distraction, a series of explosions that rocked the perimeter of the Vrixian base. As expected, alien guards rushed to investigate, their blue scales gleaming in the harsh sunlight. They're deploying security drones, reported a resistance fighter. Exactly as predicted. The Vrixians relied heavily on automated systems and quick response. They never expected an enemy to outlast them rather than outfight them. Team 2 activated the signal jammers Ji-un had designed using modified Vrixian technology. The alien communication network collapsed instantly. Cut off from orbital support, the base was temporarily isolated. "Move in," ordered Do-hyun. Team 3, led by Ji-un, approached the base from the opposite side. They carried the Resistance's most valuable weapon, a device that could temporarily disable Vrixian shields by matching their frequency patterns. Inside the base, Commander Tae-won received fragmented reports of the attack. "Perimeter breach detected in sectors 7, 12, and 15, reported Officer Sun-hee, her silver exoskeleton now dented from previous human encounters. "Deploy all security forces," Tae-won ordered. "These primitive attacks are becoming tiresome." But something was different about this assault. The humans weren't retreating after their initial strike. They were advancing methodically, using the base's design against its defenders. "Sir, our shield generators are failing," Sun-hee reported, her voice betraying concern. "The humans are using our own technology against us." Tae-won's yellow eyes narrowed. "Impossible, they cannot comprehend our systems." A massive explosion rocked the command center. Emergency lights flashed as backup systems engaged. "Sir, we should evacuate to the flagship," urged Sun-hee. "These conditions exceed safe operating parameters for our troops." The Vrixian biology was not designed for prolonged combat in extreme heat. Their troops were already showing signs of heat stress after just 2 hours of fighting. Meanwhile, the humans pressed their advantage, moving with the steady patience of predators who knew their prey was weakening. "I will not retreat from primitives," Tae-won snarled. He activated the base's communication array. "This is Commander Tae-won requesting immediate reinforcement. Bring the flagship to my coordinates." In the sky above, a massive Vrixian warship materialized as it deactivated its cloaking technology. The sight would have terrified most humans, a vessel the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could reduce the Australian outback to glass. But Captain Han Do-hyun smiled when he saw it. "They took the bait," he said into his radio. "Ji-un, are you in position?" Inside the Vrixian base, Ji-un and her team had reached the central control room. Using access codes obtained from previous raids, they bypassed security and accessed the base's main systems. "I'm in," she reported. "Establishing link with the flagship now." This had always been their true objective. Not to destroy the base, but to gain access to the Vrixian command ship. For months, Ji-un had studied their technology, understanding how their systems communicated. Now she activated a special program. Digital Trojan horse that would infiltrate the flagship's computers when it connected to the base. "Docking sequence initiated," a mechanical voice announced throughout the base. Commander Tae-won felt uneasy as the flagship extended its docking tube to the base. Something about this attack felt wrong, too coordinated, too precise. These were not the actions of primitives. "Sir," Sun-hee suddenly exclaimed, "unauthorized access detected in the flagship's main computer." Tae-won's blood ran cold. "Abort! Docking, disengage immediately." But it was too late. The connection had been established. Ji-un's virus spread through the flagship's systems like wildfire, disabling weapons, shields, and navigation. Outside, Do-hyun watched with satisfaction as the massive alien ship suddenly went dark, its lights flickering before failing completely. Without power, the flagship began to descend slowly toward the desert floor. "All teams," he ordered, "move to capture positions. Remember, we want prisoners, not casualties." Inside the powerless command center, Tae-won faced the unthinkable: defeat, at the hands of creatures he had dismissed as barely sentient. "How?" he demanded as human fighters burst into the room. "How could you understand our technology so quickly?" Ji-un stepped forward, meeting his yellow eyes without fear. "You made one critical mistake," she said. "You thought endurance only applied to our bodies, but human endurance is also in our minds. We never stop learning, we never stop adapting, and we never, ever give up." For the first time in Confederation history, a Vrixian commander surrendered to a species classified as primitive. The turning point had arrived. The Confederation warships filled Earth's skies like dark stars, visible even in daylight. For 2 days, they had held position, a silent threat looming over every major city. Panic gripped much of the planet, as governments finally acknowledged the alien presence they had denied for so long. At the Hidden Resistance headquarters, Dr. Park Ji-eun worked feverishly at her console. The past week had been a blur since they captured Commander Taewon's flagship. With access to Vrixian technology and a high-ranking prisoner, humanity finally understood the full scope of the threat. "The Confederation Council has authorized complete pacification of Earth," said Taewon, who sat under guard nearby. His blue scales had dulled during captivity, but his yellow eyes remained sharp and calculating. "Your species will be classified as hostile and dangerous. All resistance will be eliminated." Ji-eun didn't look up from her work. "How many ships in a full invasion fleet?" 200 capital ships, Taewon replied. He had begun cooperating after witnessing humanity's ingenuity firsthand. Perhaps it was self-preservation, or perhaps genuine respect had developed. Each carrying fighter squadrons and ground troops. Captain Han Do-hyun entered the room, his face grim but determined. "Our satellites confirm his numbers. They're positioning for a coordinated strike." Around them, the resistance base hummed with activity. What had started as a small group of believers had grown into a global force. Scientists worked alongside soldiers. Former enemies now fought as allies against a common threat. "Is the integration complete?" Do-hyun asked Ji-eun. She nodded, stepping back from her work. On the table lay what appeared to be standard human weapons and equipment, but each had been modified with Vrixian technology. "The shield disruptors are ready," she said, "and the communication network is online." In the 6 days since capturing the Vrixian flagship, humanity had accomplished the impossible. They had reverse-engineered alien technology and integrated it with human systems. What would have taken the Vrixians years of careful research, humans had achieved through desperate innovation and round-the-clock work. "Deploy the units," ordered Do-hyun, "all teams in position by Aero 600. As dawn broke over a fearful world, the Confederation began its attack. Vrixian dropships descended through the atmosphere, their weapons primed to eliminate all resistance. They expected easy victory against primitive defenses. What they encountered instead shocked them to their core. In Seoul, fighters equipped with shield-penetrating weapons took down 3 dropships in the first minute of combat. In Cairo, resistance forces used captured Vrixian communication codes to redirect enemy fighters into each other. In Rio, modified human aircraft engaged alien vessels with unexpected effectiveness. Aboard the Confederation command ship, Hive, Counselor Kyung-ho watched in disbelief as the battle reports came in. "How are they coordinating their defense?" he demanded. "How do they have technology capable of breaching our shields?" His aide, a nervous junior officer, had no answers. "The humans are adapting, sir. They're using our own systems against us." On the ground, Ji-eun led a team toward a crucial target, the Confederation's main ground communication relay. If they could capture it intact, they could broadcast to the entire Confederation fleet. "Cover me," she told her team as they approached the heavily guarded facility. The battle was fierce. Vrixian troops fought with the advantage of superior biology and advanced weapons. But the humans fought with something the aliens couldn't match, the desperate determination of a species defending its home. After 3 hours of combat, Ji-eun's team secured the relay. Her fingers flew across the alien controls, implementing the plan they had developed with Taewon's reluctant assistance. Across Earth, the battle hung in the balance. Human forces were taking heavy casualties, but inflicting unexpected damage on the invaders. The Vrixians, unused to prolonged combat, began showing signs of fatigue as the conflict stretched beyond their biological limitations. In orbit, Hive, Counselor Kyung-ho prepared to deploy his final solution, orbital bombardment that would devastate Earth's surface. As he gave the order, every screen on his ship suddenly activated, showing the face of a human woman. "This is Dr. Park Ji-eun of Earth," her voice echoed through every Confederation vessel. "Your commander, Taewon, is our prisoner. We have control of your ground relay and have accessed your fleet communication network." The High Counselor froze in shock. This was impossible. No primitive species should be capable of such a feat. "We don't want to destroy you," Jiun continued. "Unlike you, we don't see different species as vermin to be exterminated. We're offering a choice: retreat and recognize Earth as a sovereign world, or we will activate the self-destruct sequences in your capital ships." To prove her point, warning alarms suddenly blared throughout the Confederation fleet as reactor systems went into emergency protocols. "This is a bluff," Kyung-ho declared. "No primitive species could access our secure systems." "The same primitive species you've been underestimating since first contact," Jiun replied calmly. "The same hairless apes who captured your flagship and turned your technology against you." After a tense standoff, the Confederation Council convened an emergency session. The outcome was unprecedented. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign power, exempt from resource extraction. The humans had earned their place among the stars, not through technological superiority, but through qualities the Confederation had. Dismissed: endurance, adaptability, and determination. 3 months later, Ji-eun and Do-hyun stood as Earth's representatives before the Confederation Council. Around them, delegates from other previously subjugated species watched with new hope in their eyes. "The humans offer a new way forward," Ji-eun addressed the assembly. "Not conquest, but cooperation. Not exploitation, but exchange." Commander Taewon, now serving as liaison between Earth and the Confederation, translated her words. But no translation was needed for the message in her eyes. The age of treating any species as inferior was over. The hairless apes had changed the galaxy forever.